Welcome to Green Building Matters, the original and most popular podcast focused on the green building movement. Your host is Charlie Cicchetti, one of the most credentialed experts in the green building industry and one of the few to be honored as a LEED Fellow. Each week, Charlie welcomes a green building professional from around the globe to share their war stories, career advice, and unique insight into how sustainability is shaping the built environment. So settle in, grab a fresh cup of coffee, and get ready to find out why green building matters.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the Green Building Matters podcast. Over 5 years doing the podcast, 250 and counting interviews. And I love it because I get to interview someone in this green building movement somewhere in the world. And today, coming to us from Manila in the Philippines, I've got Alvin Tejada with us. Alvin, how you doing today?
I'm good. Perfectly good.
Well, I've been reviewing your background. I mentioned we've got some connections maybe to the Philippines in different ways. And I just kind of want to learn more about your roots, how you got into this green building movement and kind of what you're up to today. But take us back. Where did you grow up and go to school?
Yeah, well, I came from a fishing village in Metro Manila. The family are fisher folks, and the livelihood in our place evolves around fishing until the Manila Bay became too polluted. My parents shared stories of the beautiful beaches and the bountiful sea that they experienced within our neighborhood. Sadly, I never get to fully experience it because it has been rapidly degrading in the 70s when I was born. When I'm in school grade, the sea is almost dead and the family had to find another source of living, which is a lot of ways probably influenced my thoughts and paths. I was the only in the clan to take architecture studies with support from a scholarship foundation and finished in 1996 from Mapua University, which is among the 4 universities from the Philippines who made it to the 2022 World's Best. And as usual with young architects, the goal is to be a known architectural designer. But my quest for knowledge and experience led me going into various paths. And I've worked from design to property development, facilities administration, project management, construction consultancy, and eventually to becoming part of the academe again.
What a great background. And I'm sure that environmental impact and the stories you heard, you're right. It probably led to some of this great green building work and LEED work you've done and now teaching it to others. I'm always curious with mentors, maybe anyone that you looked up to along the way, or maybe someone opened a door for you. Alvin, is there anyone you might call a mentor?
Yes, I'd like to give credit to Mr. Dean Barone, whom I've worked with in my first green building project. I have very limited knowledge about sustainability when I got engaged in working at my first LEED project. And he provided me the guidance and references that helped me to navigate the certification process. And on establishing a career, I've been mentored by a client, architect Onyo Torres, who trusted me to support his company and encouraged me to establish my own firm. And with the confidence that he had bestowed on me, he allowed me to venture on different projects and introduced me to clients. He let me to take full responsibility of my first LEED project, while allowing me to continue expanding my ventures in project and construction management works. He taught me to keep pushing my personal boundaries and not to limit opportunities that are coming.
Sounds like those some amazing mentors. So I'm curious about those early days of LEED in your region. What was hard about LEED maybe in those early days? Was it the energy efficiency? Was it the recycling of construction materials? What were some challenges early on?
Well, we're having problem with people contractors, designers, not generally knowledgeable about this, and availability of compliant materials are not found. So we have to import everything. So the cost of construction gets higher because of that.
Gotcha. Now that makes sense. And hopefully it's gotten a lot better, in the last 15 or 20 years there. So connect the dots a little bit with this career path. I know while you're doing a lot with academia now, you've got a consulting firm. Just what are some of those other kind of jobs you've had? And what are maybe a couple cool projects you've been able to work on?
Well, I've been doing a lot of project management work and concentrating mainly on interior fit outs. So we've worked with a lot of process outsourcing companies and call centers for the big tech names like Google, Apple, Huawei, everything that's been locating in the Philippines, establishing their big offices, was able to work with contractors, especially those who are pursuing LEED certification. So they've been needing support for someone to guide them on the process.
That's very exciting. So I like to kind of just talk about accomplishments or achievements. Sometimes when I have a guest and I ask this question, it's a little bit of a permission to look back on the highlight reel. Okay, Alvin. So what are some of your proudest achievements?
Well, as to achievements, the recent LEED Fellow Award is certainly a momentous achievement for me, my country, and the Southeast Asian region. But beyond that recognition, I am most proud in becoming a faculty for USGBC and IWBI and 2 local universities in 2022. So becoming a builder of builders is like a legacy work for me. It is a humbling transition as I move to a really much less in terms of financial returns as compared to working on projects. But the training and mentoring should be given attention so that we can prepare our youth with the bigger challenges that are ahead. And another thing, and I think unquantifiable value, is the good life with my wife and daughter has been really with me throughout the journey.
Well, it's so important in anyone's career, especially on the entrepreneurial side too. You need that support, that encouragement. It's been great you've been able to raise a family too. And I see your LEED Fellow certificate behind you on camera. That's amazing, man. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Let's talk present day. So kind of what's keeping you busy today?
Well, as I'm back with the academe and working on some big plans for local university, we're trying to establish a partnership with the USGBC Higher Education, and we'll be supporting to update course curriculum to develop a Center for Sustainability Learning in the Philippines. And so that's quite a busy work. And I'm also looking into some research projects that are focused on sustainability and green building. Other than that, of course, I still have to manage the operation of the company. And my workload has probably doubled. And on the project, we're looking forward to be involved in more LEED projects, both locally and hopefully abroad too.
Sounds like you're plenty busy. Well, give us a peek into academia. So you're spending a lot of time here helping these green building careers inspire this next generation. What are the names of the classes? You know, is LEED in the title, or no, it's just green building best practices? Like, what does the curriculum look like?
It's really more of introductory to green building and sustainability, not very focused on particular rating system at the moment. So, I teach on the College of Architecture. So it's really like grooming these future architects in making the sustainability thinking part of their design process.
That's wonderful. Do you find that some of the students kind of even go for a LEED credential, a LEED Green Associate? Maybe you encourage that so they're competitive when they graduate? How does that conversation go?
Yeah, I think there's really an interest coming from students, especially hearing from me, sharing actual experiences and the developments that are going on. And so I've seen how they've been performing with the exercises that I've been giving, and looks like they're up to the challenge of taking on extra credentials. I've also been encouraging them that this would really support them as they build their career early in life.
Thanks for pushing them. I'm a big fan of credentials. Get those letters after your name, and it will help in a competitive job market for sure. Let's kind of look to the future. If you had a crystal ball, what do you think's next in this green building movement? What are you kind of reading up on?
Yeah, the COVID-19 pandemic had opened our eyes in the importance of health and wellness. And we've seen that projects have been more conscious, both for the environment and health. So companies and individuals also have heightened alertness and awareness of carbon footprints. And so computations reporting for GHG has become really a normal requirement for the built environment. And over the years of being part of this green building movement, I've seen how the market has been transformed, especially locally here. So from voluntary certification, a number of local codes and ordinances had adopted the green building practices. And so I believe that sustainability in green building is becoming more of a standard practice. And I can also see that the academe is also catching up, and students are really getting prepared early to have them trained and take in the correct mindset and practices.
You nailed it. All of that I agree with. Everyone listening, please continue to brush up on everything Alvin just said there about the future. So much more, but you really honed in on it. That was great. So let's talk about you a little bit more. What would you say is your specialty or gift?
Well, my practice had evolved in full circle, and I really feel old about it. But I see that as a gift. I've been practicing as a professional for over 25 years. And now in my middle age, so I'm really moving to build a legacy for my name. My family has been the source of inspiration for me and the gift that sustains me to keep moving forward. I have many opportunities to build my career around the world, but I always keep in mind that my country and my family here needs me. So I'm firmly rooted and making a difference where I live.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Do you have any good habits or routines, rituals that help you stay on point?
Not really. Generally, I'm a boring person. I enjoy few friends and limited social activities. I guess that partly helped me to get more focused on what I do. I've learned to discipline myself and get focused on what I'm venturing on, and keeps me grounded is my wife and daughter always get to remind me the beauty of life and to take time to get out of the work and see the world. So the times that we travel as family refreshes me and get me ready for new challenges. I also get inspired with the developments I see around when I travel, and also the stories of the people that I get to meet.
Well, I see some books there behind you. Do you enjoy reading? Is there a certain place you like to read? I'm sure it's a big part of everything you do.
Yeah, well, I do a lot of readings, topics from anywhere. But recently I've been reading a lot about bamboo and how to explore this material. I've been joining boot camps, putting my hands into the actual bamboo works.
Great. I love that. It can be used as a building material. Bamboo shoots for food. It's a rapidly renewable material. It's fascinating. So that's great.
Yeah.
Let's keep talking about books, and I'm going to take you back to bucket list. But books, is there a book you'd recommend to our listeners?
Yeah, I recently completed reading the book from Bill Gates titled How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. There's a lot of points that he shared that makes us think deeply and reflect on what actions to take. It touches on every areas that we move around, and a really nice book to read. And it doesn't take ages to complete it. I'm following recently Lewis Holmes, and I find a lot of inspiration from the thoughts that he was sharing on social media.
Yeah, no, those are great recommendations. A podcast there too, I believe. So fantastic. All right, so now let's go to bucket list. We're getting to know each other a little bit. I'm kind of curious. You mentioned some travel, but any travel, adventure, maybe you want to write a book. What's on the bucket list?
Yeah, well, I have a travel bucket list and a budget bucket list to share you. On the travel bucket list, I look forward to visiting Scandinavian countries and get to see the beauty of the country and their buildings. I hope to see the city of Copenhagen one of these years. And on the budget bucket list, I look forward to the conferment of UAP Fellow. That's the local architectural organization in the Philippines, which would be like my graduation from the architectural profession. And then that brings me then to my path of continuing it and postgraduate education.
Well, you've got it laid out and some fun travel in between. So thank you for sharing. Just a couple more questions kind of about career and in this industry that's been good to you. It's been good to me, this green building movement. Alvin, is there any advice you wish you'd have known earlier in your career?
Well, I've always thought that if I had a mentor earlier in life, I would have achieved my goals earlier. And so I would advise young professionals and students to look for someone to mentor them, be involved in the current news, and be part of the green building movement early. The older generation had thousands of years from them to plan their lives, but we are left with just a few decades to prevent the global collapse of the environment. We are called out on to be heroes, and we cannot afford to wait for another person to take the action for us. So for those already in green practices, just keep going.
That's good. I like that. Well, and lastly, though, let's say someone's listening to this podcast. They're getting inspired by your story, and they're just now jumping in to the green building movement. Any words of encouragement for them?
Well, while we're living in a challenging time, this is also an exciting time. The speed of technological development may be dizzying, and we know that humankind continue to evolve with the rapid changes. Just keep reading, keep learning, keep sharing, and eventually you get into the habit of this green building movement.
Well, this was great. I really appreciate you showing us what's happening in your region. I can tell you're dedicated there. You're dedicated to your family. You're dedicated to teaching others and this green building movement. So I enjoyed getting to know you more, Alvin. Everyone listening, please connect with Alvin on LinkedIn. Let him know what you thought of the podcast. Thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you to our loyal listeners. We actually are celebrating over 1 year here on the Green Building Matters podcast. Me and the entire team were stoked and just so glad you continue to listen every Wednesday morning to a new interview with a green building professional here in this industry, or just some pro tips that we want to make sure that you are getting straight from us, straight to you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Green Building Matters podcast. At GBES.com, our mission is to advance the green building movement through best-in-class education and encouragement. Remember, you can go to gbes.com/podcast for any notes and links that we mentioned in today's episode. And you can actually see the other episodes that have already been recorded with our amazing guests. Please tell your friends about this podcast. Tell your colleagues. And if you really enjoyed it, leave a positive review on iTunes. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on next week's episode.